Welcome to the first ever podcast. My name is Juan Gonzalez, HR Manager for Fairway Staffing Services. And with me today, we have comedian and safety professional Richard Villa.
Hello, Juan.
Hi there, Richard.
Yeah, how's it going? Good, good, good.
Good, good. And we also have Mr. Chris Cuff. He is a political and safety consultant, and he is also a law enforcement executive. Hello, Chris. How are
Hi,
you doing?
I'm good. And you?
Hey.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, so before anything else, I would like to definitely break ground and break the ice as well, on how we all met and how is it that we are here today. And to talk about what?
Safety.
Yeah.
Of course.
Safety in the workplace. How do we make our workplace a lot safer? So I'm excited, Chris. I told Juan, oh my God, like to have somebody that explains to us what to do as a HR department. Can you imagine to have somebody like Chris just jump in and say, I got you. I know this is a tragedy. Let me take care of this.
By all means. By all means.
Hopefully, I can be of some service and help.
Yeah.
We're pretty sure. So, in the way that we met, I met Richard Villa many, many years ago
Yeah.
at a safety training
I had more hair back then. I
at a
remember.
given company. Yes. So he was doing his gig, if you will, safety training,
Yeah.
and I was attending, and I'm like, you know what? I do that as well.
Yeah.
So I started picking up a lot of tips from Richard.
Yeah, and vice versa. A lot of the technical aspect of this job, having the right answers for the HR department, having the information available to them, us just being able to meet somebody like you and go, wow. So he was a fountain of knowledge for me. I would go to him and say, Juan, how do I do this? Or what type of training is this? Or walkthroughs, just a simple walkthrough.
Safety assessments.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So
Exactly. So that's how definitely I met Richard, and the rest is history.
yeah, we became buddies.
Yes. With regards to Chris, well, Chris, I met him through my son. My son, he was a safety committee member for
Okay.
the city where we are located right now. And of course, getting to know Chris through my son, I also knew that Chris is very big on training, physical training.
Yes.
Now, him and I, we spoke about my daughter, and he was training her because, she's a wrestler and she was going to compete in the Olympics. So he was training her for some time as well. So that was fun.
Yeah, it was. A
Oh,
lot of
that's
fun.
great. So besides doing all of this, you also train wrestling.
Yeah, well, not wrestling per se. It was more strength and conditioning.
Oh, strength and conditioning.
Was able to help her
Nice.
get to where she needed to be. And from that connection, we connected and have been friends since. And that was some years ago,
Yeah.
5 years ago now.
Yeah.
Time flies when we're having fun.
It does.
So tell us, Chris, what is it that you do?
Okay. Well,
Or
by trade,
you can tell me what he does, because I want to get
Well,
to it.
he does a lot of stuff, but
Yeah.
you know what? I'll let him do the talking.
Yes, there you
It's
go.
just amazing stuff.
yeah. So by trade, I'm a law enforcement officer now, an executive, and so I sit in the office all day, or at least a lot of the day. But prior to my days roaming the hallways, I had a lot of fun as a law enforcement professional. I've worked the streets in patrol. I was a gang investigator. I worked major crimes. I worked a whole variety of different task force. I've traveled, to different parts of the country, investigating homicides, narcotics trafficking. I mean, you name it. I won't say you name it, but I've done a lot. I've had a relatively blessed career, and in that, recognized that there were some, say, baseline skills that law enforcement officers have that we, as individual law enforcement officers, don't always necessarily transfer those skills to other work sectors. While working as a law enforcement officer, and it's been now working on 21 years, I also got involved in politics. I've always had a love for not politics itself, but the strategy behind what it takes for someone to become an elected official. And so I a few friends of mine had over 12 years ago ran for judge. I volunteered for their campaigns, got involved, in political consulting, and have helped individuals get elected to a whole variety of local offices. And through that is when I met Juan's son. I was the member of a public safety committee. I was the president of the public safety committee for some years. And what that opened my eyes up to was not just the politics, but really how cities are run and how safety decisions are made, and how the public's input, how that translates to policy and procedure. And from there, really, when I opened Cuff Holdings, which is my consulting firm, a part of it is the political side, which is what we just talked about, but the other half is knowing the internals of how most cities operate, and taking that, say, the skill sets that I've learned as a law enforcement professional, and now applying those skill sets to individuals who want to run for office, or companies who want to interface with cities. And what I found in working with companies was there's a lot of issues that they deal with that aren't necessarily public, or they're relatively sensitive, and recognize that I have a skill set in that as well.
Now, when we talk about sensitive subjects, can you specify on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in the realm of safety, having investigated a whole wide variety of incidents, and those incidents could be everything from homicides, or deaths, or catastrophic injuries that happen at the workplace, or stuff that HR departments deal with. And everyone knows, if you're dealing with HR, there's a lot of information that comes into HR, and not necessarily a lot of information that goes out. But in dealing with HR, that's when you find out about threats, or potential issues with workplace violence, or internal conflicts between employees that some stay internal and some are external. Just all the things that it takes to run an organization made up of people. Well, when you have an organization made up of people, you have the issues that people bring. And so for myself, I figured if I have a skill set, and that skill set is dealing with crises, and knowing how to network and interface with a whole variety of different entities, as well as really knowing the steps on how to navigate through the worst situations.
What would be something, for example, death in the company?
Oh, yes.
Somebody got run over by a forklift. Okay. Why should I call you? What are you going to show me? What can you help me with that I don't know yet? Because this has never happened to me. I'm HR department, and they ran in here and they said, hey, this guy just got killed by a forklift. I call you because you do what for me at this point?
In the end, my primary role in that role is I help companies develop sound policies, sound procedures, as well as help them create the training to maybe prevent some of those catastrophic events from happening. And then also for your C-suite, or your the executives of a company, once something has happened, the one-on-one leadership coaching and how to navigate through whatever the crisis happens to be.
Wow.
Say something. But in this case, that is, after the fact. Definitely, we want to, be proactive.
Yeah, ahead of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I also understand that you provide a lot of this training.
Yes. And so a company that has sound policy and procedures and training, when you have a workforce that is in tune with all of those things, those are the tools that help prevent catastrophic events. Now, having said that, that doesn't necessarily prevent a catastrophic event from happening. And if and when that does occur, Then on the back end is when you have the one-on-one coaching and the leadership training.
Yeah. But I like your point. You said you also prevent it from happening, meaning you recognize that this person, how do I recognize this person and know that they might cross the line? Is this person willing to get physical with one of my employees? And if that is the case, how do I deal with this person if they haven't done anything yet? Remember, there's a strong feeling that this guy maybe is going to cross the line. So at what point are you violating their employee rights, and then at what point are you looking, like you said, being proactive and saying, hey, this potentially could lead into a live shooter situation or somebody aggressive?
In this case, Richard, I think that definitely, there are three items that we need to discuss right here. The before, the during, and the after. Or
Tragedy.
possible, mass shooting or active shooter, type of scenario. So in this case, I'm sure, Chris, you would recommend that definitely looking into behaviors and attitudes, right,
Right.
of individuals.
Yeah. When it comes to, the whole spectrum of things that can occur, I think where it starts is having a company that has created a culture of openness, a culture of transparency, and having employees, but more specifically, from the top down, your CEO down to your first line supervisors, them being acutely aware and understanding what active leadership is. And through that active leadership is when all of the rules per se, as it relates to personal safety and company safety, that's when all those things apply. If you know your employees, if you are aware of what their stressors are, what their issues are, both in the workplace and maybe issues that they're dealing with outside of the workplace, those are the pre-incident indicators, for lack of a better term.
You know what? It's funny. We were discussing this earlier at a cannabis company, doing their safety training, and one of the subjects they wanted to do was mental health and also violence in the workplace. We need to discuss it. And I was like, really? He says, yes, these kids, and that's how the HR department said, because they're young. He says, they're ready to go to blows. And I'm like, no, guys, I understand you're young, and I understand that you were willing to prove to everybody, but no, you can't. These are the policies. If you do this, if I see you aggressive against one of my employees, you're creating a hostile work environment. I'm going to step in and say, no, stop. People cannot be nervous around you. You cannot create a hostile work environment. I don't know when you're going to explode.
Yeah, using that as an example, I mean, that's one incident, but the underlying for all of that is having a sound policy and having sound rules and having sound procedures for when those things occur, the company in and of itself sticking to their rules and applying them fairly and being not being passive when it comes to those behaviors that could potentially lead to some catastrophic event.
You know what? One of the things that I really like that Chris mentioned is leadership training.
Yes.
Because it starts from the top.
It really does. It really does.
Enforce policies, procedures, and they need to be, once again, not afraid
To step in and take action. One of the things that the HR department told me, which I always thought it was interesting, she said, I want my supervisors to be more involved. I don't mean by being nosy. I mean, if you understand that this person just went through a divorce, if you understand this person just got cheated on, if you understand this person just got a DUI, if you understand this person just lost a loved one, their attitude is going to change. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you, as a supervisor, I want you to be aware of this. I don't want you to bother him with it, but if you see a change in attitude and he's creating a hostile work environment, you have the right to come in and tell him, today's a bad day. We're going to take a break. I want you to go home. I want you to relax and forget about the days. I'm going to take care of your hours. Today's a bad day. Why don't you relax, unwind, and then we'll talk tomorrow. You still have a job.
Yeah, all of that is,
you know what I mean?
That's active leadership.
That's active leadership. Now, why? But it needs to be an effort that you put in. You understand? A lot of people will tell you this is the solution, but then we take no action.
Yeah.
People don't want to take any. They don't want to take the steps to hire you, to hire me or Juan. They just think that things are going to get fixed by their own.
Yeah, usually active leadership is important, but part of active leadership is in how you pick and choose who your supervisors are. And the training that you give your supervisors has to go beyond technical skills. And that goes for really any work environment. When it's the IQ versus the EQ. Your first line supervisors, your mid-level supervisors, all the way up to the CEO, there has to be a balance of both. And what I find in some of the companies that I have worked with, or folks that I've advised, there's an imbalance there, and usually it tilts towards technical skill for the folks who are the decision makers versus the other half, which is the EQ, which is knowing and understanding people and what motivates them, and how to build quality, productive teams. Having just the technical skill by itself, it doesn't cut it. And when major things occur or major incidents happen that end up in the HR department, most of the time, it's not because someone has the highest stats or they're the greatest worker. It's you fill in the blank with all of the other personal stuff, which is the EQ.
Yeah, interpersonal skills as well. We're going to take a small break right now. We're going to continue this subject. Very, very interesting.
Yes.
All right. So Fairway Staffing Services was funded back in 2009. Ever since then, we have grown immensely. Nonetheless, we are providing a service not only for companies, but to the community. We are sending many, many individuals, I wouldn't say many, thousands of individuals out to work on a daily basis. Different companies, different industries, different skill levels.
Okay, but why?
Are you
But
looking for a job?
no, I'm not looking for a job. I have too many jobs already. No, but why Fairway? Because you understand they're looking at it going like, why Fairway? Why what makes you guys way better than any other staffing agency?
Okay, first and foremost, the owner of Fairway, a very fair individual, hence the name Fairway.
All right.
Now, in this place that we are recording this show right now, this is corporate office for Fairway. He treats all his staff extremely fair, very fair, and he treats of course, our temp associates the same way, with respect, dignity.
But even more than anything, and the reason I like coming with Juan is because in terms of safety, and that's why we're here too. I mean, the owner was nice enough to say, you know what, I see this vision with you guys. I understand that it's a need, and I understand maybe it's too boring for some people. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to sit there and watch these videos, but at the end of the day, you do it because you understand that keeping your employees safe is priority number one as a staffing agency. And not because it's the right thing to do, but it helps in the bottom line.
We help companies stay out of hot water. Meanwhile, we train employees on how to practice safety, make safety a behavior on a daily basis.
Perfect. See, and that's something that's important as a business owner. You don't want to have to call Chris. You want it to be here, where he already trained your employee enough, where he has the knowledge to go, no, I'm not going to get in the forklift because I don't have a certification. Juan made it very specific, do not get on a forklift. So you want to have those kind of employees. Now, that being said, I had an incident because I also do the training, and I get to one of my companies, and this is what happened. I get the news right away. We had a fight this morning. Oh, what happened? Where's the other person? Where are they? Well, one of them is in the hospital. He got severely beaten by two other individuals. I said, okay, so hold on. Let's pump the brakes. Let's see liability. Let's see where you fall in all this. Let me see what actions your supervisors took, because your plant manager wasn't here yet, right? No, this is all supervisors. Okay, so tell me step by step what happened. Well, they were in the shop, and I guess he said something to him, and he didn't like it. So he got into his face, and he whacked him. You know what I mean? And he beat him up. Okay. Or like he hit him. Okay, and then what happened? So he stepped outside. The aggressor that hit him, the supervisor said, you know what? Calm down. We're going to wait for for the plant manager to get here. He's going to decide this and this and that. So he kept them there after the first fight. Well, the guy got hit, got his brother, and they both then attacked this other person that ended up in the hospital, the first initial aggressor. Okay? They kept everybody there in that shop after the first initial fight. And I said, you made a mistake. Regardless of what you think, you are a supervisor. I need you to keep everybody safe. You have a second fight in your hands because you didn't do anything. Because you waited till Armando gets here. We're going to beep that. But you understand? You don't do that. You're a supervisor. You're my leader. At this moment, priority number one, the safety of my employees. If I saw him strike you, he is removed from my property right away. I cannot afford a second fight, especially not in this industry where there's a lot of heavy metal.
Yeah, I mean, even beyond that, you have potential criminal culpability.
Yes.
Then the civil.
Because he's in the hospital. He's in the hospital. He went to the hospital.
Using that scenario, you have you've got many issues. The first, I guess, most serious would be the criminal culpability.
Okay, explain all this to me. What's happening to me as a company now? Did this situation happen? How do I deal with it step by step? What's my first step?
Wish I could give you a whole laundry list of things, but just right off the top of my head, the first is: do you have a crime that occurred?
Yes,
that's the first thing.
Well, they didn't want to file charges against each other.
Okay, so now that, say, the police or law enforcement
they're out of the picture.
is not involved, now you have a workplace safety issue, and so after that, then it's okay. Yeah, you obviously have to separate the employees, and so what would sound like the most obvious thing is, well, one of them's got to go. In fact, I would argue both have to leave, at least for the day. The second is, an immediate notification to either first line supervisors, and for those first line supervisors, then an immediate notification to HR. Why? Because if there were a second incident, and obviously
yes,
there was a second incident, the company is now taking on potentially a whole lot of liability because that
the guy got jumped after the first strike, and he was the one that hit, by the way.
Okay, so
he's now hospitalized.
And had both been gone or both been removed, you would have never gotten to the second fight.
Yeah.
So beyond the removal, then it's now you have to make your notifications, and let's just say that scenario went perfectly. Now that the notifications are made, now obviously you have an internal investigation, whether it's done by HR or you call a corporation like myself or some of my other partners, companies that I work with. Somebody comes in and does an internal investigation, and what you're looking for is violations of policy, procedure.
In these type of scenarios, Richard,
yes,
it's very unfortunate, but nowadays with live shooters, that can turn into just that.
Yep.
Somebody bringing a weapon to work.
Yes.
So in this case, that is right there at that spot. If that were to happen, what to do? First, second, and third.
Oh, okay. So somebody brings a weapon to work.
Yes.
We started this entire conversation talking about sound policy, sound procedure, sound rules, sound training. So
before you continue, I do want to make this note. If any HR directors are watching this, if you think, no, my employees are good, I have great managers, I have none of this problem, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go up to your supervisors tomorrow and say, do you know your company policy? I guarantee you none of them have even read it. Do you understand? You can't enforce the law if you don't know the law. Okay? Okay.
Yeah. So that's where we start, is sound policies, sound procedures, sound training, and then the follow-up to that is making sure that people actually know, like you said, what those rules are. Mm-hmm. And having that, then it will create a culture of safety if that is the priority for the organization. Somebody brings a gun or really any type of a weapon to the workplace, you should already be some rule, some policy, some procedure that prevents that, short of it being a security company or some company where weapons are already involved. But that would be at minimum a violation of any one of the company rules, and with the violation of those rules comes a set of actions, whatever they happen to be. Without that sound policy and procedures and those rules, if and when somebody brings a weapon to the workplace, you're kind of stuck.
Let me ask you a question, because this happened to one of my companies. The guy used to bring his 22 every day to work. He carried it in Juchipila, Zacatecas, where he's from in Mexico, and now here he continues to carry it because he's not going to be a victim. And he always carries it with him. And now the plant manager didn't know this, okay? He doesn't know this. People get fired or people quit, and then new people get hired, but
Right.
the supervisors stay the same. So at what point, because what happens, the plant manager sees it, the guy bends over and sees it. Is that a gun? He's like, yeah. But the manager's like, yeah, but the last plant manager was okay with it.
Wow.
He was okay. Like, it was all right. They knew each other, and he knew he had it. I know he had it. I work with him. I'm a supervisor. I seen it. But because the other plant manager didn't say anything, well, I guess it's okay. And I'm like, no. This is not okay. Plant manager had to bring me in and sit him down, talk to him.
That would be an issue of company culture. And with the new plant manager comes either a new set of rules or enforcement of rules that were already there. Beyond just the plant manager, I would assume in a scenario like that, there were likely others who were aware, and I'm not saying employees should snitch on each other or tell on each other. But,
you don't think so?
Well, for me as a professional, to say, the rule would be, yes, you are supposed to say something. Now, in reality, the expectation for every employee to do that, okay, I would argue that that's a false reality. But if your first line supervisors are aware, or somebody who is a boss at that place, for them not to say something, now that is a problem. And the plant, once you get all the way to the level of, say, a plant manager, I'm immediately going to frontline supervisors going, are you aware? Are you aware? Are you aware? And if they don't say anything, because these are people that are in leadership positions. And so, line level employees or same rank employees, it would be nice if they were, to say something like that. But your first line supervisors, they absolutely have a mandate to make sure that the workplace is safe, and an employee bringing a gun to the workplace, absent the gun being a part of the position, is something that first line supervisors absolutely need to be held accountable for, and then those first line supervisors holding their people accountable. But the thing is, your first line supervisors aren't going to do that if the middle managers aren't doing that. And if the middle managers aren't doing that, all the way up to the top, again, leadership, it's sound policy, sound procedures, the culture of the organization, and making sure that the organization takes care of itself by taking care of its employees, but making sure that the rules are followed.
Yes, and touching base, for example, the big miss there was the fact that the plant manager wasn't communicating with their supervisors, and this is something that they never brought up to the table. Guys, our policy here when it comes to weapons, this is it. You just assume that everybody already knew, and the supervisors are being trained by other supervisors that say, well, no, it's fine, so-and-so lets them bring in a gun.
Correct. If I were to get called to come do a top-down review of that company's policy for that particular incident, I'm willing to bet what I would find is there's multiple folks that were aware of what's going on, and there will likely be multiple levels of either miscommunication, no communication, or lack of understanding of what the rules are for that workplace.
Yeah.
Now let's turn this a little bit. I understand this is your expertise, your training, and I don't want you to go in full detail, but definitely let's just say that one of these employees goes berserk and they do decide to use this gun.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're talking about a crisis incident. Or
Yes.
An active shooter.
Yes.
Let me delineate. Anytime that there's an incident that is life-threatening, like right now, somebody's life is in danger or multiple people's lives are in danger, the company rules, the company policies, and all the things that we just talked about are 100% factors. But when it's happening right now, preservation of life is paramount. and preservation of life, what those actions are from those individual employees. If a company hasn't talked about these things, if they haven't trained their people in what I would call basic personal safety procedures or personal safety rules, for lack of a better term, if you haven't trained your people in that, you have no clue how they're going to react. And in an absolute active shooter, saving yourself and then putting yourself into a position to maybe save someone else or help someone else, that becomes paramount.
You said something very important when we were talking off camera, where you said there was 3 types of people in terms of a live shooter, and we can expect all 3, right? Can you tell me a little bit about what we can expect? Because there's a scenario. So what are the 3 people I'm going to see in my job place?
Not the live shooter itself. It's those that could potentially be those to respond when you have an active shooter occur. That's those that are going to fight, those that are going to flee, and those that just absolutely shut down.
Okay, it's important we understand that, because that's human behavior.
Yes.
So you got to understand that there's people who are going to break down, and you got to go, okay, that's them. That's how they're dealing with this. I can't help them. There's going to be people that are, because it's easy. What do they say? Attack all at once. But you got to understand, some of these people are not going to move. You're going to go, let's go. Wait, where are you guys? I thought we were all supposed to attack at the same time.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
I guess the term would be everybody's level of survival intelligence is not the same. And depending on who you are, what your background is, what your level of training is, and where you are as an individual can determine what your response is going to be. I've worked in law enforcement for 21 years, and I've seen a whole variety of different responses to very dangerous situations. That goes for both law enforcement officers and civilians or the general public. And so even in my world, where everyone's trained, everyone's armed, everyone has been through some sort of stress inoculation, you still see a whole variety of responses to life-threatening or very dangerous scenarios. So now you take that same all those same stressors and apply it to folks who've never had any of that, or have never been through a truly traumatic incident. You don't have a clue what kind of response you're going to get from folks. But you know for sure, some are going to fight, some are going to flee, and some are going to shut down.
Yeah.
Yes.
I attended a training with Chris a couple of years ago, I would say. And one of the things that really stuck to my head was run, fight, or hide.
Correct.
Yes.
That is, taking a complicated subject and making it very simple. That's exactly what I always.
But okay, so
those concepts are easy concepts for people to understand.
No, but you have to understand, fight, hide, or flee, right? That's your reaction. So
run, hide, fight.
Yeah, run, hide, fight. But there's the thing: if you decide to fight, is that the right call when you're looking around and they're all broken down and scared, and they're like, no?
The answer is it depends, and the reason is when you are faced with a life-threatening scenario. If fight is the only option you have, then you do what you have to do to survive.
You're willing to do it. The other 6 people in the room don't.
Might not. So
do I still fight?
It's situational dependent. It's. I wish I had the magic answer.
Yeah,
and the answer is it's situationally.
Yeah, I get it.
And so
you don't know the still scenario.
The 30,000-foot view for a corporation or for a company. When you have these types of conversations or these types of this type of training with your employees, you give them, the goal is to give them as many tools as you possibly can, knowing that there is no threshold incident or crisis that will go perfectly. There's not a single one. And so empowering your employees to make the best decisions given their set of circumstances, and giving them some tools to help make them be more self-aware, and some tools to help them improve their personal safety skills. I think that's key. and that goes beyond just the workplace. That's just for general.
And that's my next question, because we're talking about human behavior. We're talking about how people are going to react. But would you agree with me that now there's a huge mental crisis when it comes to people, where they are a little more sensitive? They are, how can I say this? I think we've created a world of social media, of acceptance, to the point where me and my niece were discussing DEI training, diversity, equity, inclusion. I mean, I have scenarios where 19-year-old men crying because the supervisor screamed at him when he was giving him the orders. Like, it was loud. He needs to scream so you can hear him. He didn't do it on purpose, and he wasn't directing it to you. It was to the general group. Well, it felt like it was directed to me. And people are really mentally ill. They're really depressed, and I kept seeing this in the workplace.
I think there's you brought up several issues, but there's a delineation between true mental illness and stress, or acute stress, and a difference in the culture of workers. At any organization, or at least a lot of organizations, you might have 3 or 4 different generations of employees, and those, how the baby boomers might respond to supervision versus a Gen Z or a Gen X could be very different, and so those are factors. When it comes to mental health, we are, as a whole, everyone's more aware of the mental health issues, because it's something that it's not taboo to talk about anymore. And as a result of it not being taboo to talk about, people are a lot more transparent in what issues they are having. And this is, and I'm talking about folks that are willing to talk about their issues. The other half of mental health is there's here we're in California, but there is absolutely a mental health crisis in the streets. You have drug use. You have folks that were previously receiving treatment, now not. We just came out. We're still somewhat in it, but we're coming out of 2 years of isolation. We're in an environment where, for a lot of folks, the human interaction and the ability to build those human workplace skills is now often done through the computer. You can work, working from home and not interacting face to face with folks diminishes some of those interpersonal skills, and so. I mean, we can go down the line of all of those different issues, but how that relates to companies and corporations is, you can't be blind to the fact that those are things that you should definitely consider, and be so much more aware of the mental state of your employees. Having mental health, not mental health training, but having mental health training, having support services, having and actually building in programs to support your employees, or to support those that work for you, I would argue that it's not optional anymore. That's paramount.
That leads me to the next scenario. Let's just say that somebody gets shot. I am trained. I'm a licensed training provider for the American Red Cross. So I've gone through this training, and I understand that you provide this training as well. How to pack a wound and whatnot. Specialized training, very specialized.
I've been through the training. I have partners that I work with that do
the specialized training.
Yes, but yes, I can help provide some of those services.
One of the things that worries me, and I saw this coming, was this. When the pandemic hit, people that normally never bought a gun went and bought a gun. Yeah. Because of what was going on with the toilet paper, what was going on with water, all this stuff. So do you understand, as a father, as a dad, as a husband, you have to provide a safe haven for your family. So you say, hey, if everybody's getting a gun, then I'm going to go get a gun too. Okay? Okay, nothing happened. Everything's good. But now you have a gun. And maybe before you wouldn't just jump to go grab that gun because you just didn't have access to it and you thought it was silly. But now it's there. And now you have access to it. So I can see now with mental health being the way it is, and now I have access to a gun.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? It scares me. It scares the hell out of me.
Guns are, I call it's one of those rabbit hole issues.
Oh no, but I'm saying the reality is a reality. Can we agree? I'm not saying gun control, nothing like that. Well, all I'm saying is this: the facts are the facts.
Yep.
More people bought guns, and now people are having mental issues. Okay, and now they have access to that gun that normally they would never have done.
Correct.
That type of behavior. But now, because of the circumstance, I'm going to take this type of behavior, okay, and justify it. So the facts are the facts.
Yeah.
There's more guns and there's more mental health out there.
No doubt. So as a professional, I mean, someone who carries a gun professionally, my advice, and I'm saying this because I've had family members, first time gun buyers, folks that I tried to get to the range years ago, and all of a sudden they went and bought guns. And so my advice always is, if you're going to buy a gun, and in my opinion, a gun is a tool. If you're going to use the tool, then you need to be properly trained in the tool, not just in the physical use of the tool, but also all of the other stuff that comes with using a tool that can cause serious bodily injury or death. And so, and that all that other stuff is the emotional training, the obviously the ability to, the physical training in using the tool. That's the easy part. You can go there's 500,000 companies that will teach you how to use a gun. It's all of the other stuff that comes with it. It's are you emotionally stable enough to have a tool that can cause serious bodily injury or death? Are you prepared for the potential legal issues that come with, I'm talking criminal and civil, legal issues that come with the carrying of a firearm, or at least the use of a firearm? My rule is, for however much your gun costs, you need to spend 3 times that the same amount in the training. Yeah. If you don't do that, then you're not being responsible with that particular tool.
It is so funny. I mean, so interesting. My good friend from Texas, El Paso. Hey, Sam. What's up, Sam? He's a comedian also. He shows me, you want to see my kid's gun? He has a pink 22 Glock.
Not uncommon.
And he's like, yeah, that's my daughter's. That's my other daughter's. I showed them how to shoot. They know the rules. They know how responsible they have to be when they're with a weapon. They know they don't mess around. This is not a toy. But I taught them so they wouldn't touch mine. Mm-hmm. You understand? And if they do touch my gun, they understand now how to handle it. He says, I needed to educate them if I was going to have a gun in this house. I cannot live watching over their shoulders. I cannot be ignorant that they're not going to go in there and sneak and try to look at my gun. You understand? So I rather train them. They know how important it is to be safe around these weapons. They understand it. They're not fearful of it. They're educated, and that's it. He says the key here is you got to educate your kids if you're going to bring a gun. Tell them don't touch it. He says second is store it the right way, meaning they cannot have access. So what procedures are you taking to make sure the other people don't get a hand?
Yeah, that is I guess there's a whole lot of philosophies when it comes to gun ownership, and more specifically, guns in the household. For me, personally, I obviously have them because of my profession, and so making sure that my kids were not only aware, and I won't say that I actively went to make them comfortable, but knowing that guns were around, just in my environment, for me, making sure that my kids were familiar, and not just familiar with the use of the gun, and I will call the gun the tool, because it is a tool. Making sure that they were familiar. What I never wanted was if for whatever reason they were to see, any one of my firearms, or even see me at work, that they were ultra fearful because then fear creates irrational responses, and those irrational responses can lead to catastrophe. So breaking down the stigma and the fear of the tool in and of itself, and then building in the rules. And those rules are, all of the things that your friend Sam, or at least how he kind of explained that to you.
Yeah.
And for me as the adult, making sure that the firearms that are in my house are locked up in a safe.
Okay,
they are in a position to where those who are not who shouldn't have unauthorized access don't have the unauthorized access.
Well, we need to wrap this up. We can stay here all day, man.
Yeah, so
but I just want them to.
It's a rabbit hole issue. We can talk about that all day long.
I wanted our audience to know that there are people like you out there. You can help. So if you are a company that is lacking on this type of topic, if you don't get enough training, or do you want to explore more, talk to Chris. We'll have all his stuff in the link bios. All of that stuff will be there. You guys can reach out to him directly. We'll have his website up.
With regards to mental health, Richard, there's a lot of resources as well, a lot of free resources.
Of course.
There's, as we have 911 for emergency type of scenarios, there's also 211.
Yes.
Where you can call and ask for a referral for a mental health specialist who can assist you, anxiety,
completely free,
depression, whatnot.
Completely free.
Resources.
Yeah, it's completely free. The state funded. If you're in the Inland Empire, is IEHP. They will refer you directly to them, where they have Medi-Cal. They have all you need in terms of mental health facilities. If you're being abused, if you're in an abusive relationship, they can get you housing for you and your family. So the resources are out there. It's just you got to look for them. And I'm letting you know, 211, like he's saying, that is a great way to get mental health.
I agree. For companies and corporations not to know this information, or at least not have not to know it and not provide it for their employees, and have it set up in an organized way. So when you do become aware of the myriad of issues that your employees might be dealing with through that active leadership, you have resources to direct them to. And by doing that, in the end, you will likely make your workplaces a lot safer.
As an HR director, what do? I have an employee that just got divorced and his wife cheated on him with another employee here at work, or any scenario like that where somebody had a loved one pass away. Now you know. Now as an HR director, now you know 211. Maybe my company doesn't have the funding to give him mental health, but you know what? At least I have this phone number now. A resource like what you're just saying right now, that now I can extend to my employee to get him better, because I understand he's going through some trouble.
Well, I think that
wraps it up. This is our first one. Chris, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very much.
Richard, thank you.
No, thank you, man. To many more. Guys, if you have any questions, if there's a specific topic that you guys want us to touch on, please feel free to reach out to us on our new social media platforms. Ask questions. Ask away. Dealing with everything, right? It doesn't matter. It's going to be safety. It's going to be just human behavior. Labor law. All that. The law's changing. So how do we change? How do we adapt? We'll talk about sexual harassment, anti-bullying. We'll bring experts from all these neck of the woods, all these different experts. So you guys have an opportunity to dig in more and say, okay, my company needs this. Thank you guys for supplying me with the information for Chris or these other experts that we're going to be actually showcasing on the show.
Well,
thank you very much, guys. That is it. This is Fair Talk. I hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed it too. Goodbye, everybody. Bye-bye, Chris.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.